p.m. The first thing on our agenda is the invocation, and I'll ask Commissioner Wood if he would lead us in the invocation.
Let us pray. Gracious Heavenly Father, thank you for this beautiful day. Thank you for this great, wonderful county we live in. We pray, Lord, that you'll be with us as we make decisions and conduct the business. Watch over, guide us, and give us a safe trip home. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Our next item is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I gave you time to get that on, didn't I?
Yeah, I turned it on.
Okay, that's right. All righty, the next item on our agenda is approval of the agenda. Could I get a motion for the approval of the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the agenda is approved as published. Okay, the next item on our agenda is public comments. It looks like we got three folks that are going to speak today. The first is Terry Reed. Come on up, Terry, and stand close to the mic so we can
All right,
be
is
sure
that
to
good enough
record
there?
you. And you got 4 minutes, so fire away.
I've been living in King here for about 19 months now. I've been having an ongoing issue with a neighbor and their children that want to ride out in the street with quads and motorcycles without helmets and adult supervision. I've been in contact with the sheriff himself and Captain Eads. I've met directly with the King City Police, and they all tell me that these people should be, these children should be wearing helmets whether they're on private property or not. Not only is that not being addressed by the proper authorities, the fact that the noise ordinance, it's a residential area, and every time that they get on these things and start them up, it's far in excess of the 60 decibels that are permitted from 7 a.m. till 10 p.m. in a residential area. When I do call 911, and I've called 911, I believe 25 times since the end of March, sometimes officers come out, sometimes they do not respond whatsoever. It is it is a Stokes County Sheriff's jurisdiction, unless they're riding out in the road, because the city limit line is right on the edge of their property. So if they come out of their driveway and turn right, they're going into the city. If they turn left in the road, they're staying in the county. I don't know what to do at this point. I can't get officers to properly address the situation in my view. I have some that come out and say it's on private property. There's nothing we can do about it, but I'm not aware of any law that lets you break the law just because you're on private property. I've talked with the Department of Social Services about the parents that continually allow the children to ride without helmets. They say it's a matter for the sheriff's office, but when I talk to Sheriff Joey Lemons, I've talked to Captain Eads he's the patrol captain for the officers that come out, and they say that these officers should be enforcing these helmet laws, these supervision laws that they're supposed to be watched while they're riding these things. These are kids that are 11 to 14, 15 years old. They're riding machines that are far too large for their physical size, and nobody is addressing it. And I just don't know where to go. I last spoke with Captain Eads here a couple weeks ago, and I informed him that I was going to contact the governor's office to see where I turn next. He promptly hung up the phone on me and told me to never call him again. Suggestions? What am I supposed to do as a citizen? Just sit there and watch the children? I've almost been involved in 2 accidents with those children on those bikes. Once a quad come up out of the gully with 2 girls on it and almost hit the side of my vehicle, the right side of my vehicle. And here on April 11th, one of the children, about 14 years old, decided he wanted to come head on at me on the motorcycle as I'm returning from the grocery store, and comes right at the front of my vehicle, darts over to the right there, right at the last moment, zips past me, turns around, brings it right up on my tail end, comes right around so close I could have reached out and pinched his little ear, and then it cuts me off and continues on. That's when I said I'd had enough. I started making calls to both the city and the county about this. I get officers that come out that just do not seem that they want to be involved in it. They tell me there's nothing they can do. And I don't believe that's true. I don't believe there's anything that allows us to break the law, even if it's on our own property. I have officers that come out, I stand right in my window, I watch them drive down, it's a dead end road. They drive down to the end, turn around and come back. I can look right out in the same line of sight without having to avert my vision one bit. And I see the officer and I see the children. And they turn around and call me on my phone and say, we didn't see anything. I will report what the sheriff says. We didn't see anything. I don't believe that to be true. I don't believe that you can drive past a group of kids riding motorcycles 200 feet away from you and not see them. So, I don't know what to do. I know that when an accident occurs, and luck will run out for one of the little guys, there's going to be an overwhelming response from police emergency services. Just trying to prevent a tragedy before it happens.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Amber, are we still getting the addresses of our speakers? Not just King, but is it on there?
Yes.
So I just want to make sure that helps me out if I know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, our next speaker is Mark Badgett.
Good to see y'all. Well, I'm not here to complain about anything, but I am here to ask for your help on a very important safety matter. Before I ask for that assistance, I'd like to thank y'all for the outstanding job y'all did on the green box for Southwest Stokes County.
Can you say that again?
I know you've heard 100 or 200 people going the other way. I know y'all have. But anyway, today I am here about a very important public safety issue. The speed limit between the city limits of Pinnacle and, the city limits of King and the hamlet of Pinnacle. As you leave King on Old 52, as we know, you see this sign that says speed zone ends. It's in big letters. Well, they take that as a sign to go 25 miles faster than what they were going before. And I think that we've had a lot of mishaps. As a matter of fact, there was a mishap on the day of the dedication of the green box, as I recall. Somebody flying over the hill and creating havoc, but luckily nobody was seriously hurt, as far as I know. I brought this before my Pinnacle Ruritan Club, and we unanimously voted to adopt a resolution, which I have signed along with our secretary about this matter. And what we're asking is for you to help us put this through, because I think it's a matter of public safety. I've talked to highway patrolmen, officers of the law, and I couldn't find one that disagreed with what I was talking about. As a young man said before, we don't want to have fatalities to bring these issues to folks' attention. I do have this resolution, and I can give each one of you a copy of, if you wish, if I might approach.
Hey, Mark.
It's quite clear. We are asking that the DOT reduce the speed limit from the city limits of King to Pinnacle from 55 to 45, and perhaps a further reduction there where the green box is, because as you know, when you come over that hill, you have no visibility. And if it's 55, people think they can go 65 or even 70 or even faster, and quite often they do. To back up what I'm trying to say, in my case to the DOT, Dalton Road runs parallel with Old 52, a short distance apart. And it, all the way from the time of the Dalton Bridge, as I recall, to the edge of King, it gets reduced 45, then 35, then 20. But as you come into the heart of Pinnacle, it's 55 and then 45 for about 100 feet and then 35. This is a public safety issue. People have brought it to my attention before, and I'm bringing it to your attention. I'd appreciate your help. I'd appreciate some sort of a document or resolution backing up this request. I don't think it's a lot to ask, and it's for public safety. And if y'all have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them, because I've looked all over Stokes County, and most every area 66 going into King, it's 45. Walnut Cove, it's 50, and then 35 going into the heart of Walnut Cove. It's not an unreasonable thing to ask, and if y'all have any questions, I certainly would be glad to answer them. I think it's just very important to get this done. Any questions?
None right now for me.
And if y'all could adopt something to help me, I'll be glad to send this in to the North Carolina Department of Corrections as well as our local division. But I feel like doing that without your cooperation, it might just end up in file 13. As a lot of things do.
Department of Transportation.
What did I say?
Corrections.
Oh, no, Department of Transportation. I don't think, well, they may send corrections out there to clean up the roads every once in a while. Anyway, it's good to see y'all. Like I said, I appreciate the good work y'all do, and hopefully you can help me out with this. Appreciate your time.
All right, thank you. Our last speakers are Ron Lewis and David Streeter. Welcome, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and other commissioners and others of the board and citizens. I'm David Streeter, and this is my friend and colleague Ron Lewis. We are here with the Charters of Freedom Foundation Forward. We are the educational nonprofit organization that built and gifted the Charters of Freedom that are just right outside the entrance of this building, and I hope that's being put to good use. And I'll give some closing remarks on that. But as our society has evolved, so has Charters of Freedom. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Lewis to tell you about an addendum to the setting that we are here to provide you and everyone else, including all the citizens and especially the schools of Stokes County. So, Ron?
Mr. Chairman, we're double teaming you today, so we get 8 minutes instead
You
of.
get 8 minutes. That's no problem.
I'm an old county manager, 38 years in 4 different counties, so I enjoy these meetings for some strange reason. I like to see how other folks are doing things. As David said, we gifted the Charters of Freedom that's downstairs. We enjoyed working with your staff during that project. They did an exemplary job. We particularly enjoyed working with Mark Delahunt during that time. I stepped up to the setting before we came upstairs to your meeting, and I'm going to report back to our crew and see if they can't get up here and do some preventive maintenance work on it. It needs to be cleaned, and it needs to be brought back to its original beauty, and we're going to put that on our list to do that. But what we're here to do today is to provide you a supplement to that. I hope that you all can see this framed document that we have brought to gift to you today. About 2 years ago, David and I were making a presentation in another community, not terribly far from here, 100 miles or so. And when I finished, there was a young African American council member that was on the council, and he said, "Mr. Lewis, you did a great job with your presentation, but you didn't do anything for me." And I stood back and tried to absorb what he was saying to me. So we went back to our staff and we gathered around our conference table and we said, "We have a problem. We haven't completed the circle that the Constitution of this great country completes to make all of us the same." So we studied this. About 2 months later, our founder and president came back with a solution. Vance Patterson said that we're going to add to our initial gift to the counties in North Carolina that have the Charters of Freedom what has come to be known as the Civil Rights Amendments. It's the 13th, 14th, 15th, 19th, and 23rd Amendments, which makes all of us the same, regardless of your gender, regardless of the color of your skin. We all have the same rights and privileges and benefits and protection under the Constitution of this great country. About a month later, David and I went back to do a follow-up presentation. And the young black councilman was so moved by what we had responded to his concern that he had tears running down his cheeks. We want to share with all counties across North Carolina. Our goal over the next 3 years is to build the charters of freedom like yours in every county in North Carolina. We have built and dedicated 26. There's 4 under construction. That makes, there's 4 finished but not dedicated. That makes 30. And there's 5 more under construction, so we're up to 35. We have 65 more to go over the next 3 years to accomplish our goal of being the only state in the country that has the charters of freedom in every county across our beautiful state. We're pleased to be here with you today. You have a beautiful county, and I hope that you will display this in a prominent location where people can see it on a regular basis. We're, again, on the behalf of our foundation, we're pleased to gift that to you. David?
I have just 2 things, and then Ron and I will get out of your way to allow you to continue with your business. As the Director of Education, I create a number of different education materials that we are willing to share with the local school system. Where I need your help is to make contact with the appropriate person, whether it's the chief academic officer or the superintendent, for me to sit down and show them what we have. All they have to do is tell us which ones they want, regardless if it's one piece or all of them, how many, and we provide those at no cost. And that's more than just the public school system, by the way. That's private schools, if there's homeschool communities in Stokes County that you know of, we're willing to also give those educational things to them. Along with that, I write a monthly article and supply that. Currently, it's syndicated to about 70 newspapers. And if you have a newspaper in Stokes County and you would like to see those articles, they're non-political, non-religious. They relate to people who are well-known and not so well-known during the Revolutionary War era, but they do support and reflect and go along with the charters of freedom that are outside here. And then the last thing is that when you take this document, we request that you pass it through all the departments throughout the county and even the city, and then pass it on to the school systems and let them pass it through all their different grade levels. And explain this to not only the students, but also all the staff in the school system. And then when that is done, then to come back and hang it and display it at an appropriate place, hopefully relatively close. Of course, it would have to be indoors. It will not stand up to the elements outside, but indoors to where people can also see this supplement to the charters of freedom that are outside. And if you like, I can leave you my my contact information for all those items. I can either leave it with you, Mr. Chairman, or with
Amber there if you would.
So anyway, that's all we have. We'll be glad to take any questions you may have. And
Thank you for coming, and we really do appreciate the gift. It is really amazing. I've been sitting here looking at it as you were talking. I think it'll go right over there pretty nicely.
That's a great location, because right out the window is the charters of
Right
freedom.
out the window, yeah.
But thank you so much for having us today. We enjoyed our drive-in. There's not a prettier drive from Winston-Salem than to come to your beautiful county. So thanks for having us. I'll take it out of your way here.
Just leave it there if you want to.
Okay, that's where you want it.
Yeah, we'll take it from there.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. Yeah, Stuart, our maintenance person, department head, was back there a while ago. I was going to see if you might want to talk to him about the maintenance you want to do outside. Or otherwise, you can just coordinate with Amber, county manager.
Yeah, as an old county manager, I like working with young county managers. So we will coordinate that and bring it back to its original grandeur, so that we can all be, not just us be proud of it, but you can be proud of it as well. Thank you so much.
And Amber has my contact information, so please feel free to share that with the members, okay?
Do it, absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, that's an interesting public comment. I think that completes all our speakers today. The next thing on our agenda is comments from the manager and commissioners. I'll start with Commissioner Mendenhall.
Thank you. It's good to see everybody today. Hope you enjoyed this cool weather we're having outside. Somebody can laugh if they want to. That was a pretty bad joke. I know. Sonia, will you laugh for me? I appreciate that.
It's gonna get hotter as the week goes on. So.
Also, everybody that's watching on YouTube, we appreciate your participation that way. And I know we're going to be honoring a couple of our employees that are getting ready for retirement. And I just want to say, in case I don't get a chance during the presentation, a special thank you to those two people that we are recognizing today. Y'all done a great job for us, and you've been dedicated, and we just want to say thank you very much. And I believe that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Mendenhall. Commissioner.
Thank you. Just welcome everybody to today's commissioners meeting, and look forward to hearing some presentations this afternoon. I was glad to get rain last night. That was upbeat, and I look forward to be able to make a few comments when we do the retirements at a later time. Thank you.
Mr. Wood.
You okay, Brad?
He's been busy apparently.
Don't press it, Keith.
I want to thank everybody for all the, and my family for all the cards, the letters, the visit during my mom's sickness and death. It really meant a lot, and I was just impressed how the county stepped up. A lot of the employees, I appreciate it. I want to thank King for the event we had up there this week and express their loss. I didn't know him, but I hear he was quite a man. The mayor, Jack Warren. And also I want to thank the DOT. The event they had last week about Shepherd Mill Bridge was well done. I was impressed. That's all I got.
Mr. Cox.
Yeah, I'd like to thank everybody for being here and the ones watching online. And I know Mark Badgett left, but I think we've been in contact with the DOT about that speed limit situation to see if anything can be done. But I don't know that they've been real receptive to going out there and taking a look at it. But I think I would like for this board, if passing a resolution would help the situation, then I think we probably should look into doing that too, or at least maybe Amber could reach out to Pat Ivy again about getting somebody up there to look at lowering that speed limit, especially through the hill where the dump is. And I know that bridge is going to be replaced in the next couple of years, so there's going to need to be some slowdown through there anyway because of that. But and I really want to the gentleman that left from the Charters of Freedom, I really appreciate this document and that display out there. It's quite an endeavor to do all 100 counties, and that's an undertaking that I hope that they can complete. That's really, really well done and out here, and neat that they're doing that. And I also like to remember the mayor, Jack Warren's family, in our prayers as we move forward. This week was able to go to his funeral, and it was very moving to see all the firemen, the policemen, the city employees that were there to honor him. I was known him since I was a little girl. So he had a big influence on me and was always encouraging to me in running for office for all these years. And he was a mentor to me, and I really appreciate everything that he did in that regard. And I'm also looking forward just to hearing this, Jill, and being thing about the 60 plus food bank. Thanks for being here to share that with us. That's all I have.
Amber, you got any comments?
Thank you to everybody who's here and for those presenting. We appreciate you being involved in our process here. Thank you to those watching online through live stream. And as always, just let us know if we can do anything or if you have any questions that we can help with.
And I would also welcome everybody. We need your participation in our meeting. It's great to see almost a room full here today. I would just join the other comments with Jack Warren. He was, I worked off and on with him for 20 years and got a lot of good advice from him, so he will definitely be missed. With that, the next item on our agenda is conflicts of interest. Before moving further, does any board member have a conflict of interest with any of the items on the agenda for today, or one that could be perceived as conflict?
No.
Okay, great. Okay, the next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion, questions on the consent agenda? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay, and the first item on our information agenda, we have Ben and Jill Rolfes here to talk about the age 60 plus food bank. So come on up.
Chairman Rick Morris and members of the Stokes County Commissioners, good afternoon. Thank you all for having us today. This is my wife, Jill. All right. We are residents of Stokes County. We live in Lawsonville. We also have an office in Stokes County. It used to be the bank building in Stokes County, or in Sandy Ridge, excuse me, next to the post office. So, we are been living here for quite a while. We love the area. Like some of the other speakers have said, that this is a really nice community or county. Our office address is 4928 NC 704 Highway East in Sandy Ridge. Regal Group is our company, and Regal Group is a full-service insurance shop. Okay, I'll tell you a little bit about us, and then we'll get into the food bank so you know sort of where we're coming from. We do retirement planning, safe investments, auto, homeowners, commercial insurance, annuities, life insurance, Medicare. We also participate in the Affordable Connectivity Program, allowing folks to get access to online devices. Okay, so that's our main gig, right? However, the reason we're here today is that we stand before you to address an initiative that's pretty dear to us. We call it the Age 60 Plus Food Bank and More. This project aims to make a meaningful impact on the lives of the beloved senior citizens in our community, right? Per the Stokes County census data, we have roughly over 45,000 folks that are 65 and older that live in Stokes County.
It's 20.3.
I'm sorry, my bad. 20.3% of them are age 65 and older out of the 45,000. So the data reminds us of the significant number of seniors who've dedicated their lives to building our community, and it highlights the importance of ensuring their well-being and quality of life. Those people have come before us, they're still here, they've added a lot of value to us and continue to do so. So we're here to share with you the tremendous efforts put forth by our community partners in launching the Age 60 Plus Food Bank and More initiative. It was an idea that came about and it's been growing, and we're excited to be able to share it with you guys here. The Regal Group, or thanks to the Regal Group and Friends of Stokes Shelter and Dedicated Senior Medical Center, which CC Ray is a manager there, We also have other collaborators. We made remarkable progress in addressing the needs of our senior population. The age 60 plus food bank and more is set to have its inaugural food distribution event on Thursday, August 17th at our office. And the idea is that if you're familiar with the location, we're going to have folks exit or enter from one side, drive around the back, pick up their goods, and exit the other side. That's the hope, at least. Okay, so that's going to be Thursday, August 17th. We are committed to do this for a year, once a month for a year. Okay, that's our commitment level, and it's a very steep financial commitment for the Regal Group for this project. We're going to have essential supplies such as personal care items in addition to high quality food. All right, that's the main objective, good quality food, meats, fresh produce, breads. In addition to that, we're going to have personal care items such as cleaning products, paper products, and those are the type of things you don't get access to with food stamps. All right, and we're also going to have adult hygiene products that are available as well. Okay. In addition to that, for folks that have a need for or have pets, cats, dogs, etc., we know, and Jill works in the Medicare field, and she's seen firsthand retired folks that will go hungry in order to make sure their pet eats, right? Or sometimes they eat the same thing, right? So we're going to have pet food for those that want it available. Forthcoming will be a clothing closet, we're calling it. We're having a storage building delivered hopefully this week to where we can store a lot of this stuff. We already had a guy call today and ask, hey, I've got a couple walkers and a wheelchair to donate. Would y'all be interested? All right, so this thing is coming together pretty nicely. But we will have the clothing barn and access to medical devices when inventory allows. So as residents of Stokes County, I'm deeply moved by the impact this initiative has had on the lives of our senior citizens. The age 60 plus food bank and more is not just about providing essential resources. It is truly a symbol of our community's compassion and care for those who have paved the way for us. However, we stand before you today with a request for continued support. With the age 60 plus food bank and more initiative launching, as I mentioned, Thursday, August 17th, we have a golden opportunity to improve the lives of our seniors and foster a stronger, more connected community. We kindly ask Chairman Rick Morris and the Stokes County Commissioners' endorsement and assistance to ensure the success of this initiative. Your support will not only provide essential resources to our senior population, but it will also showcase Stokes County as a compassionate and caring community that values the well-being of its residents, more so than we already do. In conclusion, we urge you to join hands with us, the age 60 plus food bank and more partners, and the entire community to make a significant difference in the lives of our seniors. Together, we feel we can empower them to lead to fulfilling lives, create a stronger, more connected community, and ensure that Stokes County remains a place where every resident thrives. And Jill and I want to thank each and every one of you for your time and your consideration today. We really mean that. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Do you guys have questions? Let's start.
Sure. I don't know that I have any questions. I just think it's a great idea, and I think you're seeing that population group keep growing. I mean, people are living longer. People are, that's just the baby boomers are aging, and so there's a strong need for that. And a lot of people are very proud. They don't like to ask for assistance. There's probably some people that should be on government assistance that are too proud to even
Right.
sign up. But I think that people will respond well to this, and it'll grow, and I think you'll see a lot of people. I was just sitting here thinking of when I broke my leg a few years ago. I still have crutches and walker and
Right.
things that I use that I would be glad to donate for that kind of thing. And I was able to, for a short time, use a wheelchair from the American Legion, but that's on that side of the county. So anything on this side over here for the same type purposes would be
Exactly.
really good. So I think that's much needed, and the pet food is a good idea
Yep.
too, for sure.
We
'Cause
think
you're
so.
right about that.
Yeah.
People will go hungry to feed their
You've seen
animals. So I think I did have a question, but left me, so you can move on and come back to me. I'll think of it.
Commissioner Wood.
I think it's awesome, especially for that part of the county.
Right.
It's going to be a hit. Like I mentioned before, our church will be involved.
Okay.
And I'm cleaning up Mom's estate, so you're going to have a wheelchair before the end of the week.
All right.
Thank you.
I thought of it.
Okay, go.
So I'm on the DSS board, and they do this thing where, like you're talking about, where you drive through with the food bank. They do it with the Food Bank of North Carolina, but surprisingly, they were telling me that there are apparently people who follow that. They're not even from our county. They just seem to just want the handout, so they follow the food bank around to different locations and load up. And so I think this will be good, because I think a lot of people that are local will take advantage of this instead of people that just take advantage of the food bank and follow the truck around.
That's a great observation, Sonia. What we're doing, we think, is the right step. We're requiring RSVP, that folks RSVP for this program. Okay.
That's a good idea.
So that we know that they're in the county, and it also gives us an opportunity to connect. You know, you were saying some people were too embarrassed to say that they need assistance. Well, we've partnered with dedicated senior medical centers, and they don't even have to go into an office or anything. If we see, or they communicate to us that they would like to see if they would qualify for Medicaid, we can actually make arrangements that they go and meet with somebody at Dedicated who works for Dedicated. They don't have to go anywhere public that they might see their friend or neighbor, and they'll help them do the application. So it's totally confidential.
With the Medicaid expansion, it's going to open up even more people that'll be able to qualify.
Yeah.
So we're also going to need some volunteers, because to put this venture forward, and we're trying to play it out in our minds for the first one in August. So we're thinking we're going to need 15 to 20 volunteers. You know, we're not sure. We have an idea how it's going to flow, but when you're handing boxes of food, pet stuff, housing items, etc., more hands the better. So we are open to any volunteers that would like to give us a hand.
Okay, Brent, question. Thank you so much, and I think this is what Stokes County is about. I mean, you kind of full circle. You live here, brought a business here. Now you're putting a volunteer action to help the elderly in need. And I think that's so much of kind of like how it was back in the 50s and 60s,
right,
where they didn't rely on government for everything. It was people like us, and you're stepping up. And I'm really proud of you, and I'll do
Appreciate
anything
that.
I
Thank
can to help y'all. I
Okay.
think it's great. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
Hall.
I just want to say, I think it's fantastic.
Good, thanks.
Really, it is. This is great. And I'm not sure how you decided to come up with this idea, but it's well needed. I happen to know where your location is. And I don't think you'll have trouble getting volunteers, because you're right across from the Red Top Cafe
Exactly.
And then you
Yeah.
got school that sits right down
Yeah.
Town Road there.
Right.
I know that because I was principal of that school
Okay.
at one
All right.
time. And I know the people there. I know Sandy Ridge community
Good.
well. And I think you will not have any trouble getting your volunteers. I
Okay.
think they'll step up. I just want to say a special thank you. I thank you.
I appreciate it.
This
Yeah,
is
thank
a
you.
tremendous effort.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
We think so. Jill has something to hand. Does she have permission to approach?
Yeah, sure. While she's handing that out, I would just comment that it's a great idea. Some of us are out there whenever you open up, and I really like the idea of doing the RSVP and having everything arranged where people can shoot in, shoot out,
Right.
and have a real efficient process. You kind of do it anonymously, almost,
Right.
doing it that way. The only question I have for you is, you said you'd like our endorsement. Well, we've given it to you here at the meeting. Would you like it formalized somehow in writing or
We
anything?
would love that.
Okay, so we'll do something to formalize our endorsement at the next meeting. You
So
guys.
there was a term used quite often here, senior citizens, but we like to prefer to call them active adults. Because many of us are reaching that age faster than we like to admit.
Okay.
Okay, great. Well, thanks again.
Thank y'all very much. Appreciate it.
We'll get you a formal endorsement of
Thank you.
what you guys are doing out there. Okay, the next item on our agenda is recognition of the retirement of Diana, and I think Amber's going to handle that for us.
Stand up here just to make it a bit easier. But we just wanted to take a few minutes to recognize Diana Fulp, our IT director, who is retiring at the end of July. She's been with the county since August of 1987 and has been with the IT department the whole time since she's been with the county, and the majority of those years serving as director. Although I haven't worked with Diana but for over 2 years since I've been here with Stokes, I've enjoyed my time working with her and have witnessed the whirlwind that is IT. They're always working hard to keep the county up and going, oftentimes at nights or on the weekends, and we appreciate her and the time that she's put in to making the county and the IT department great here. So she will come up and I'll read this plaque for her. It says, "In appreciation and recognition for your 37 years of dedicated service and commitment to Stokes County."
I just have a few brief words. I
Take as
actually want
much
to
time
say,
as you need.
do what?
Take as much time as you need.
I do want to say thank y'all for allowing me to work for the county. I greatly appreciate that. However, I am truly going to enjoy a slower pace, not having to tote a computer around, weekends, things like that. And the last thing that I will say is I also enjoy working for Stokes County. I know we talked about this before, would it ask? I truly enjoy working for a county that I live in, hoping that I can make a difference. So thank y'all.
Thank you, Diana. Let's have some comments.
We
please.
just appreciate your years of service and your dedication. And you're right, working in the county that you live in means something that you've been able to spend since 1987, working here and making a difference, because you really have made a difference and been able to keep up with current trends and stuff. And I know just getting us with these laptops and paperless and everything, that was huge undertaking that y'all did, and we appreciate it. We just appreciate everything. Enjoy.
I'm absolutely amazed what you've done, because there should have been more of you. So enjoy.
Thank you.
Yeah, this kind of paying off what Keith is saying. I mean, you were really the first department that I came in contact with when I was sworn in on the Board of Commissioners. And I'll have to admit, I was in awe, but I was also in shock, because we talked for about an hour, I and David, just kind of, and for you and David to do what you guys did, two of you, for Stokes County is tremendous, and you have so much to be proud of, because I mean, the IT is it runs through every single department here in the county, including our public safety, which is just paramount. And public safety is 24/7. And I could not believe y'all were doing what you did with what you were given by the county. So I really appreciate knowing that, we still had the service that we had with just you and David, basically. Because, you two were the nucleus, the nexus that stayed and stabilized. And y'all covered 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Think about that. Holidays. So words will never be able to say enough or to express to you how much I really appreciate what you did. And I'll just end at this and say thank you from my heart.
Mr. Mendenhall.
I tell you what, 36, 37 years, that's true dedication. That you wanted to help the county out for that many years. A lot of people come and go, but for someone to come in and work from 1987 to now, it's just tremendous. And like Commissioner Chandler said, IT department I never thought it was funded enough to have enough people in there. You and David did a tremendous job. If I needed help at home on a Zoom meeting or something and my computer wasn't working properly, I called y'all. You or David one would help me get through it. I just want to say to you, many thanks, and please enjoy your retirement. Hey, don't let it go to waste. Take good advantage.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll wrap up by saying, I guess you and I have been working together off and on for 20 years now almost. It really went by fast, but I consider you an ultimate professional. You and David complemented each other perfectly in that office, and like Brad was saying, to keep this network going with really, I don't remember any kind of catastrophic problem we had the whole time that I've been dealing with this and working with you. So,
thank goodness.
So that really says a lot with the two of you guys running the network 24/7, and I'm just very happy for your retirement. I consider you a really close friend as well as a coworker, and you've earned your retirement, and I think you'll probably kind of know how to enjoy it since I know you fairly well. So anyway, thanks again for all you guys have done. 37 years, that's a long time, but
yeah.
Now you can go do 37 years of retirement.
Yeah, there you go. See how that goes. Thank y'all.
Yeah, can we take a quick picture if you don't mind?
Oh, yeah.
Let's stand up here. Yep.
Thank you.
Diana. Now back to work. Okay, I think our next item on the agenda is the Soil and Water Annual Report, and Janice Pack is here to present that for us. Hello, Janice.
Thank you all for allowing me to present this report this afternoon. I'll just briefly go through, because I know you've already got a copy. I'll put it on the monitor, but just briefly go through and highlight our accomplishments for the past fiscal year. But I'll begin by recognizing...
Talk close to that mic where we can hear.
Might need a little bit more.
Yeah, pull it closer.
Okay. I'll begin by recognizing our Soil and Water Board members, James Booth, Marvin Cavanaugh, Johnny East, and Darrell Lester and Bob Lindsay. And then, of course, you know our staff. We're a two-team department. myself and Michaela Sawyers. But we also have a member that comes in, he works with USDA. He comes in to our office once a week just to administer the federal cost share programs. So we do have a little help on that end. But anyways, going back to the board, I just wanted to say that our board meets the third Wednesday of each month. We meet in the old courthouse at 9 a.m. and all meetings are open to the public. So, next, I'll just go ahead and move on to our state cost share programs. And I know we discussed these at the budget work sessions this spring, but I just want to reiterate that these programs, state and federal cost share, they reimburse landowners up to 75% for the installation of best management practices on their farms. So there's no county funds involved with any of these programs as far as that goes. First, we'll start with the agricultural cost share program. We were awarded $75,361 this past fiscal year. We obligated that to 6 contracts. You can see the practices that were installed in the table under that section, and then you can also see the great benefits from those installations as well, where you can see the soil saved, phosphorus and nitrogen saved too. Next is the North Carolina Agricultural Water Resources Assistance Program, or AGRAP as we call it. This program is a water quantity program. So the goal is to use funds to increase water production on farms that have insufficient supply for either their livestock or for cropland production. So mainly the practices that we install with this funding is agricultural wells. When I say agricultural wells, I just mean that they can't be hooked to a home or anything, it has to be used for agricultural purposes, and we do spot check these within their 10-year maintenance period. Okay, next we'll move on to, I'm sorry, and I might have not said this, but we were awarded $11,000 last year for this, and we did obligate it to 1 contract for a well. So, and next we'll discuss we'll highlight our federal programs, which are also for the benefit of environmental quality. This past fiscal year, we paid out $76,652 to landowners for the installation of these practices, and it basically included a waste storage structure to handle poultry litter and all the components tied to that, and a grassland certification practice, which was an incentive payment to farmers that maintain their grasslands for the benefit and soil and water quality. And then next, this is a new program. This is the North Carolina Streamflow Rehabilitation Assistance Program. We call it STRAP. This is, like I said, a new program. It's not a cost share program, it's a grant. So it's 100% funded. It was approved by state legislators in an effort to get a handle on the flooding issues occurring across the state the last several years, either due to major storm events or hurricanes that we've experienced. So this grant provides funds to either remove debris from streams that's hindering the natural flow or for watershed structure repair. And I know I discussed our watershed structures pretty much in detail this spring, so you know they were constructed many years ago with USDA funding to provide flood control. So we applied for this grant through STRAP, and we received $246,761 this past fiscal year. So far, we've paid out $190,500 to contractors for work completed, and that included removing over 3,700 cubic yards of debris from approximately 19,000 linear feet of stream. We also removed approximately 1,500 cubic yards of sediment from one of our watershed structures in the Little Yadkin area in King, and this is where sediment had formed an island in the center of the pond, and it was causing backflow, so all the fields upstream were getting flooded. So we knew we had to do a repair there, so we used funding for that. We still have over $50,000 left in these grant funds for our county, and we plan to use those for applications that we have on file, because we still have quite a few for stream debris removal. We also expect that they're going to release more funds this fiscal year, at which time we will apply for more funding, because we do have an extensive need here in the county. So, and I also wanted to mention, kind of pat ourselves on the back a little bit, we were the first agency in the whole state. It was $132 million awarded in this in grants all across the state to different agencies, and we were the first in the whole state to complete a successful watershed repair project. So we're proud of that accomplishment, and we were also asked to come and give a presentation this spring highlighting how we did that. So Michaela went and talked to around 80 people, it was in Avery County, about how she was able to successfully complete that project. Okay, next is another grant project, actually that we completed with grant funds. This is a stream restoration repair project on Little Snow Creek. We obtained grant funds to do this repair, and then we coupled it with cost share funds as well. to get all the work completed. Total funding obligated to complete this project was $108,978. A little over $102,000 was grant funds, and then approximately $6,400 came from state cost share funds. So that project is complete and looks really good out there. Next, I've added a graph here on the monitor, if you can see it. It might be a little small, but it's not in your report, but I just wanted to show just what our departments brought into Stokes County this past fiscal year. It's actually it's close to $400,000 been paid out to either contractors or landowners for the benefit of conservation. So either in the installation of these practices that I discussed earlier, or either through the contracted work like through STRAP, where we did the stream debris removal. So that's quite a bit for a two-person department. We were proud of that. We've also been able to, you can see the majority of that is grant funding for the year, and we've been able to purchase equipment through these grant funds. So we were able to get us a drone, and that's been very useful. We've used it on some of our watersheds just to go out and look upstream, to see the perimeter places we've not been able to get to before, and we've also used it on our inspections, which is, I'll go back to now to our conservation easements. You can see here, this picture to the right there, that was taken from a drone in our annual inspections that we did in January. Our office holds 3 conservation easements that totals a little over 18 acres, and these were donated easements basically to protect the riparian buffer along the Dan River and its tributaries. Okay. Next is our Voluntary Agricultural District Program. And we basically, this Voluntary Agricultural District Program, we handle all of we do their minutes, we do all their administration to help them be able to function. So we, along with Cooperative Extension, work with them on this. So this past fiscal year, 30 new parcels were added to the Voluntary Agricultural District Program, and that is preserving an additional 856.80 acres of farmland. So now there's a total of over 8,000 acres enrolled in the VAD program, which is a program where landowners voluntarily agree not to develop their land for at least 10 years. And anytime they want to, they can come out, but it is a great program. And they also can purchase a sign. I'm sure you've seen them throughout the county. Just identifying their area as a voluntary ag district, so that people know that agriculture is, they're actively engaged in agriculture at all times. So it could be tractors going up down the road early mornings. It could be smells from these different confined animal operations. So it's a way to just let people know what's going on. And next, you'll see that we've written 36 conservation plans, which is a free service that we offer to citizens to help them in the planning and management of their property. And it takes quite a bit of time to develop these plans. So Michaela goes out and she meets with the landowner, and then she comes back and researches information, and she does them a great map. So it's quite a bit of time involved in it, but it's a great resource that we're happy to provide. And this year, I also included training and professional development that we've participated in to show the commitment that we have to keeping all the information we give to our clients up to date. We've actually attended 15 trainings this past year. Some of it's been through webinars, and then again, some of it's been in person. And we want to thank the North Carolina Division of Soil and Water for providing those opportunities for us, because a lot of times it's at little or no cost to us. Next, we've highlighted our 24 watershed structures that I mentioned earlier. They were built many years ago for flood control, and the county provides the funding for the general maintenance of all these sites. So this past year, we mowed all sites twice. We spread lime at all sites, reseeded any bare areas, and then we also had several trees removed that were encroaching one of the emergency spillways in the Town Fork Creek area. So our board and staff inspected these sites last October, which included taking soil samples, cleaning out tow drain pipes, and then we walked the front, back, and top side of the dams looking for any eroded areas or wet areas, which would be a sign that there's an issue going on. And I mentioned earlier about some of the equipment that we've been able to get through grant funds. Well, our no-till seed drill is one of those pieces of equipment. We obtained that in 2008. The drill is a great way for citizens to be able to reseed pasture land or hay land, and then also establish wildlife food plots. So this past year, the drill was used to seed over 200 acres. And the next several pages highlights all of our conservation educational programs. We provide these programs for students of all ages, as well as civic clubs and community organizations upon request. Listed within the table is the number of people that have participated in any one of these programs, which totals around 1,900 people this past fiscal year. And then in May, we recognize our students who placed in our poster, essay, and slideshow contest at our awards banquet, along with the Conservation Educator of the Year and Conservation Farm Family of the Year. And I know several of you were in attendance this year. We had about 67 people there. On the next page here, we've included more detail about our Environmental Awareness Days. This is an event held at Hanging Rock State Park for each year for all fifth graders. This past year, we had over 400 people in attendance. That included all elementary schools and one private school. And this was held on April 25th through the 27th, so it's a 3-day event. We also sponsored one high school student to attend the Resource Conservation Workshop held on the campus of NC State University in June. Each year we accept applications from students interested in pursuing a career in conservation, and then our board reviews these applications and selects one student to attend, and then the state gives us funding to be able to pay for their registration, their meals, and their housing for the week. We also sponsored 2 teams from South Stokes High School to participate in the Northwest Envirothon competition. It was held in Wilkes County on March 22nd. The teams were provided study material prior to the competition, and then on the day of, they showed up and were tested on their knowledge of the topics. So they actually competed against, I think, 27 other high school teams that day. They didn't place, but they did very well considering this was their first exposure to this type of competition. So we were proud of them and hope they come back for next year. And then next, we just highlighted our annual Farmer Appreciation event. We haven't been able to have this event for the last few years because of COVID, so we were so glad to bring it back. And it was held at North Stokes High School on March 23rd with a little over 300 people in attendance. And just, I know you probably all know, but this is totally funded from local businesses. So our department or no county funds are used for it. So I think that just shows their appreciation for agriculture in Stokes County. And then our public outreach, we try to reach out to the community as much as possible. We send out a biannual newsletter that goes out to over 2,000 people, and we also maintain a website that we keep up to date regarding our programs and events. And we also showcase a fair booth at the fair every year, and this past year it was titled Rooted in Conservation. And last but not least, we want to thank our 21 volunteers that help us accomplish so much this year, and also you, our Board of County Commissioners, and other partnering agencies. We have state and federal partners that are really great to step up and help us out. So I thank you for letting me present this today and for your support.
Thank you, Janice. Commissioner Cox, you have comments or questions?
It's a very good report. I appreciate you bringing it to us and updating us with all that information, and bringing in $400,000 in grants and by other sources. That's huge. I mean, that's going right to, I know, to the farmers and to Stokes County to keep everything rolling, and we really appreciate that. That's huge.
Yeah, we were proud of that.
Mr. Wood.
Good job. What I didn't realize y'all had a newsletter until I saw your report. So.
Are you not on our mailing list?
No.
We can get you on there.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Just very impressive. What impresses me the most is, well, I did know, and I appreciate you highlighting your training and professional development, because I think that's so important for all county departments. But you touch all parts of the community, and you don't have a whole bunch of staff to do it. It's not like you have to look for things to do to keep people busy. You stay very, very busy and very targeted, and the impressive part is you're successful, so thank you.
Commissioner Hall.
Sure. Janice, it's good to see you again. Janice was one of my moms at North Stokes High School. Haley's doing well also.
Yes.
I just want to say, with a two-person department, with you and Michaela, y'all do a tremendous job. The amount of things you do is unbelievable. And I guess I have a close knowledge of what you do because of where my wife used to work in USDA, and I used to come over and see y'all. And y'all do an unbelievable job with your staff. And the only only thing I say is these 5 guys here that I'm looking at, I hate you have to work with those 5. I'll tell you, I mean, you got Bob, Marvin, James, Johnny, and Dal. They're all great guys.
They are.
And make sure you tell them I was picking when I said it was hard for you to work with. They're good. It's a good board.
Yeah, it
These
is.
5 people do a great job also. And I really like the way you incorporate the educational school system into what you do with them. And gosh, I'm gonna tell you, since I first met you many years ago, the number of projects that y'all put out has grown tremendously.
Yeah.
And y'all do a great job. So kudos to you and Michaela, and tell all 5 of you board members I said hello.
Okay, I
Thank
will.
you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Hall. Janice, it's a great report. It's been that way for the last 20 years, best I can remember. It's always been your work has always been consistently good, and you're not just sitting still. You're always on a growth curve to do more. That reporting you do could be a model for other departments here, I would say, and something they should probably look at. I have one question about the drone. Who operates the drone?
We both do. We're learning. Michaela has really took hold of it, and she's doing most of it. But we both went out. We're getting familiar with it, and we are going to get our license. We're just doing it on a small scale right now, but we're going to get our license so we can do much more. We got a lot of great plans for that drone. I mean, it's going to really expand what we're able to do and see, because the terrain around here, you can't always get everywhere. So it's going to be great to be able to see things, especially if we get more funding through this STRAP program. These streams that are blocked up, a lot of times we can't get to those sites and see. So we'll be able to fly overhead and locate those areas and hopefully get some
You
things
have to have a
taken care of.
federal license for it. Is that what you have to get?
I'm not sure if it's federal or state, but I do know you have to have a license if you go within certain boundaries, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So we're operating on a low scale right now, so we're okay. But that's just until we can have time to. We've already started researching the type of training that we need, till we can have time to take the training, and then that's next on the agenda, because we definitely want to expand the use of it. So.
Is it grant funded? You said
It was totally grant funded. We actually put in for our budget last year, but whenever this STRAP money became available, we're like, well, wait a minute, we could save the county that money, and because they do allow for equipment as well, so that's the way we were able to do it. So.
And is it restricted to your department for use? You're only allowed to use it for agricultural
It is,
stuff?
but right now, we do hope to make it available to other departments if they need it, and as well as citizens. I mean, we're going to hopefully see if we can't do a program, or if you got farmland and you want us to fly over and take pictures, that might be a service that we can offer as well. So,
okay, that'd be great.
Yeah, but if other departments do need use of it, the only thing is that we would have to be the operator.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have discussed that being an option in the future.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Okay, our next item on the agenda is the Register of Deeds quarterly report.
That's okay. I was going to use the clicker if I had it. I knew they had it, but I didn't know if it was up there or not. All right. I got one thing I didn't have in there. I'm going to hand it down if that's all right.
Go ahead.
Well, thank you for letting me on here today. This is not going to be so much a quarterly report as it is a financial year-end report. I tried to get here from my last quarter report, and I think there was a really busy meeting you guys had on the budget or something, and I was busy another time. So this is going to take in the whole fiscal year we just finished up. So you can look at your report that I've got there. And to give some credit to Diana, I lost this report. I had it typed out, and I lost it somehow or another in a IT snafu, and she recreated this from scratch and reconfigured it for me. So she has done a good job. For me anyway. Our total revenue for the year was $672,518. That's, I see a typo, missed a comma there. That's 400, almost double, close to double our excise tax over recording fees, and it used to be the other way around years ago. Just when I came in, almost 6 years ago, that figure is almost reversed. Tells you where our sales have gone. You can see how many deeds we recorded and deeds of trust and plats. We actually had 4 birth certificates this past year. Our death certificates and so forth are the copies we've issued. The transactions, it was almost a 15% decrease over last year, and the revenue was about 17.5% decrease. The state collected from our office $257,742. And our when I say net revenue, it means what we didn't send to the state, because true revenue, I guess, would be what we didn't, after expenditures. But when I say net revenue, that means what we didn't send to the state, and the county actually collected was $414,776. And that's not true total. True total, because we keep 2% of the excise tax that we remit back to the state. We're allowed by statute to keep 2% of that. So that added another $4,390 to our total. So it's more like $419,000 and some odd dollars for our net revenue for the county. So I can say with full confidence that our market really peaked in the last fiscal year, based on sales anyway, and transactions in the office. This past year was not as impressive as the year before, but properties are still selling for a lot more than they did 3 or 4 years ago. There may have been a marginal price drop, but not, very, very little over last year. Transactions have slowed, and that's the leading cause of our decrease in revenue. The transactions just aren't there like they were a year ago. So there's not been a bubble burst whatsoever. It's just a kind of a deflation in my opinion. But transactions overall are more than they were before our COVID years. If you look at those spreadsheets, the color-coded ones, this was something I've been wanting to do for a while. I've got 5 years worth to do it, so I did it. I got 60 months laid out and by 4 different trends that we've got. And you can see kind of the bottom performing months over the last 60 months and the top performing by color. And so you can see there the number of deeds and the excise tax collection, the total transactions overall, and our overall revenue. Red is our worst. Next to yellow, then blue, then green would be our best months over the last 60. And there you see an average at the end of each spreadsheet. Kind of tells you the best month for each one. So 2018, 2019 over the last 5 years was our worst out of the last 5, but historically that was a good year. And that legal size sheet I just gave you, there's 27-year history of our revenue. Those go back to when Kathy Young first got elected in '96. She started keeping track of those, and she left those behind, so I've been adding to those. And so compared to those, that was a pretty good year, but last year was just astronomical. I don't know if it'll be beat again, but I said that when I first came in about the 2002 to 7 period, and that was a high mark for sure until the last 3 years. You'll see that on that long sheet I gave you. You can see the 425 figure to 509 back down to 419 this past year. So last year was definitely peak, and it was a sharp increase and a sharp decrease. But I think we may level off somewhere a little bit below this year. I don't know. It's just hard to say. It depends on what the Fed does with those interest rates, because that had a direct impact, I'm pretty sure, on our transaction numbers. I saw a video this week that showing prices of the interest rates and the average income 25, 30 years ago compared to just 4 or 5 years ago compared to today. and incomes have gone up some, but not compared to the interest. You can afford a high interest rate when the house was $100,000, but it's harder when it's $400,000 and paying the same interest. So it has slowed down some, but we'll see how those interest rates go the next year or so. And all this data, and I will say one thing too on the excise tax. I have an asterisk on mine. I don't think you guys do. I think I added it later on. December of 21, we had two very large sales that represented a $53,806 excise tax collection just in two transactions. That's more than we do in a quarter. The nursing homes, there were two assisted living facilities that sold that day. So that skewed the numbers toward December. And May of 19 also was a big sale, and that skewed the numbers of May a little bit. So as far as financially, overall total revenue, I think it's got, December showing as one of our best months. That really should go to May as opposed to over December. So spring's our best time of the year. We get more transactions in those times, and we collect more revenue during that time too. Houses just sell more in the spring and summer. I learned that when I sold real estate myself. So the data is useless unless you put it to work. So what I'm gleaning from this is, I can use this to order supplies. I know when we're going to be busier. I can launch certain initiatives at certain times of the year where we're not having to focus more on recording and such. And not to panic at the end of February, middle of March, when our numbers aren't as much as they were the year before, because most of our numbers come in the springtime. As far as the deed transactions, I've got that here somewhere. This doesn't take into account the motives for that deed. People transfer ownership and interest through deeds for a variety of reasons. Sometimes it's just to clear up a title. Sometimes it's just to it's a gift. Sometimes it's to create a certain type of tenancy, but most are still traditional buyer and seller sales transactions. But those motives are not reflected in these numbers. These are just raw numbers as far as that goes. And we've been averaging roughly 2,000 or so deeds per year over the last 3 or 4 years. Last year was a big number. This year was a little off from that. Our busiest time, our slowest time is going to be December through February, and our busiest time is going to be spring and summer. The last time, I just thought this was interesting stuff, and maybe you guys don't, but I wanted to give you a history of the last 5 years when I had the solid numbers. The last time I was before the board was for budget review. We spoke a little bit about technology, and I found another report that I ran at the end of June. And Kathy Young implementing electronic recording of documents here in October 2016, about just under a year and a half before I took office. So we went from October, at the beginning of October, of 0% electronic recording to about 2 years later, 47%. So almost half of the documents by that time. In 2 years, we're being electronically recorded. As of June 30 this year, 75% are electronically recorded. And it's sped up real estate closings. The attorney's not driving to the courthouse, and Danbury seems to be a little bit farther drive from King and from Walnut Cove and from Winston-Salem and Pallet Mountain and Mount Airy, where all these attorneys' offices are. They're not having to drive to Danbury on our crooked roads to get those deeds on record, so homeowners are getting their keys quicker. The whole process is going by a lot quicker now, and it's a lot more convenient for the attorneys. I know you guys can attest to that. On the same note, as far as technology and electronic recording, we implemented electronic recording of surveys of maps on July 1. We got our first one on July 5th. We were the 35th county in the state to start that. And that's been a big push through the Secretary of State's office the last several years, just like electronic recording of all the other documents were before that. And so now that was the last holdout. Now every document as far as real estate is concerned can be recorded electronically in our office. We also started in January 2020 a program called Get Certificate Now, speaking of technology and how it's impacted the office. And it's just an online ordering system for copies of death certificates, birth certificates, marriage records in our office. And I pulled a report today on that. 423 requests for copies have been received in the last 3.5 years, and that equates to around 800 or so, plus or minus, certificates we've issued, or copies of certificates we've issued in the last 3.5 years. So that's 800. Well, that's 423 trips to the office. We've saved people that either couldn't come in or they were just way too far to come by and get that copy. A lot of people are out of state and needing copies of these things. We get this call every day. The DMV won't take my birth certificate. It's got my footprints on it, but they won't take it. The hospital copies the state no longer accepts, so it has to be a certified copy from our office. And we've got a lot of people that are born here they're living states away, and so that's been a big convenience to them. About $8,882.75 has been taken in through that program, and the county doesn't pay for that service either. That's a $3.50 convenience fee for site maintenance, and there's that's passed to the customer. There's no cost to the county for that particular program. And other news, I'm partnering with the Stokes Rockingham Genealogical Society to offer a workshop on getting started with your family tree. I mentioned this in January at our work goal session. And this is going to be on August 12th here in the building on the 3rd floor at the conference room at 9 a.m. It's going to cover records, which we've got a lot of the records in the office. And a lot of the people from the society are going to be doing the instructing. And it's going to be over what kind of records there are available, what method research, and an overview of DNA and how that plays into your genealogy, and some more other topics. And I've gotten a lot of emails and phone calls about this already, so there's a lot of good interest in it so far. And the last thing I'll mention is I'm working on a property fraud seminar, I'll call it. It'll explain the dangers associated with fraud and expand on what we've already done to deter it in the office and provide some tips on how to avoid falling victim to that particular crime. My aim is to offer this to our local Rueton Rotary Club, senior centers, libraries in the later fall and through the early winter. I'll get put out some exact dates and locations over the next couple of months when I lock those things down. I think that's all I've got. Thank you.
All right, commissioners, you have questions? Commissioner Chandler.
Good report. Always look forward to hearing from you. Keep up the good work and stay busy.
We are trying.
Mr. Mendenhall.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks for every time you give a report, Brandon. It's very detailed and specific to each individual category. So thanks for all you do. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good report. Quick question. You think this year's, well, not last year, but the 2021, maybe that's the new norm?
Which year?
2021 and this year 22, 23. You think that's going to be the new norm?
The 21-22 is definitely a watermark year. This past year is probably still just above normal, I would say. I don't know what the market's going to do, but just a wild shot in the dark. I'd say somewhere between the 2019-20 numbers and this past year's numbers is probably where we'll level off. I don't know for sure, but nobody does that I know of unless they're a lot smarter than I am, which is it's not going to be hard to find somebody like that. But I don't know for sure. Tax office would be a good way to start.
I don't have any questions, but good report. Thank you for your work on it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Everything y'all do down there.
Good report, Brandon. One quick question. Are you still looking at doing something with passports at some point? Or
we pushed hard for passports, and it's not going to happen. The rug was kind of pulled out from under us on that. I was led to believe some things that were not so, I guess. Mm-hmm. It's about office size, and we've got the office size we need, but I would need someone else to be able to do that, and it's just not going to be the King Post Office already does those. Wanaco Post Office does those too. You have to dedicate some staff members and whoever you whoever you dedicate to those, they have to give up access to other records, because those records, like birth and marriage records, are provided as proof to get a passport, and so they have to give up access to those, and we're too small an office to do that. And Richard was in the tax office was going to loan me someone to help out with that, and then at the last minute we got approval from the Charleston passport office, and then we were waiting on Washington, and we were finalizing our report to get to Washington and to get their approval, and they said, who's going to be the manager of the facility? And I said, well, I'll be. I said, well, you have to give up your access to those records too, and that's security paper, and I said, that's a deal breaker. So other registers have done it, and they've got large offices, and it was a good thought, but it's just not going to be practical.
Yeah, a lot of people are having trouble getting them.
Well, they're about 15 weeks,
Yeah.
even for just a change, not even a new. Someone texted me the other day and asked me about that, and I looked into it. And I called Rockingham. They do a lot of those over there, and they said that it was about 13 to 15 weeks just to do a change on a passport, not even for a new application.
Good. All righty.
Got one, and it was about 6 weeks.
Really? Well, that was good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon.
I need to.
The next item on our agenda is a presentation from Lydia Novak. I think Richard's going to introduce her on GIS system.
Good afternoon. I'd like to introduce Miss Lydia Novak to the board. Lydia began her 400-hour internship with Stokes County back on May 15th, and sadly to report, August 1st is going to be her last day. Lydia is a rising senior at Appalachian State University. Lydia's very knowledgeable and talented. She has a keen eye for detail and great work ethic. Lydia has prepared a brief presentation to show the board of her accomplishments and what she's done in a short period that she's been here. Before I turn it over to Lydia, I would like to thank County Manager Amber Brown for allowing us to have an intern. I think having interns are important. May lead to recruitment, because Lydia done a great job, and I think when she graduates in May, her plans are to reside in the area and hopefully work in the area. So it would be good. I'd also like to thank Greg Hunsucker, our GIS specialist, for mentoring and letting Lydia shadow him, and she's been a true asset to us. And along with Amy Carter, our GIS supervisor, and our mapper, Christy Anderson, they've worked closely with Lydia. But I'll turn it over to Lydia right now.
Thank you. Hello. I think Richard went over a lot of the stuff that I had in the first part of my presentation, but yeah, I am a student at Appalachian State. I'm about to start my senior year there, so I will be graduating in 2024. I have a geography major, a concentration in GIS, and I just recently added a minor in planning. So that was helpful to also be able to work with Eric Nance in the planning department for a little bit of my time here. Just a little bit about me and how I ended up in this area. I was born in Charleston, South Carolina. I moved to Winston-Salem area when I was about 9, and then moved to King back in December. So I'm familiar with King from, I've been in the area since I was 9, like I said, so I've traveled up into King, and now I'm getting closer into the county and getting more familiar with it. So this internship allowed me to get to know it a lot better. I'm going to show you guys a lot of the projects I worked on. So one of the first things I was able to do was I worked together with the Environmental Health Department. A couple of them let me actually come out into the field with them to collect GPS points, and I went back to the office and ended up mapping them myself. This was a really good experience, I think, because I see it's something that has to be done a lot of times. The guys will come in and bring in the GPS unit, and then the mapping department maps out the points for them to be able to look at. So this was just one of the normal routine activities that I was able to get a lot of hands-on experience with. And I also worked with the Public Works Department to create a map of all the green box sites within the county. I was able to learn a lot about creating annotations using the software, and just created a map giving a lot of information and giving updated locations for all those green box sites. I've realized throughout the whole experience that a lot of the GIS department is allowed to work with a lot of different just departments in the whole building. So I think for that reason it's also was a just really helpful experience to not just work within a couple of people's jobs, but I also work with the Economical Development Department a lot. I created these inset maps for Tory Mabe to create, I think he's planning to create a brochure with them. So these are just a couple of the examples. I did the King Recreation Acres, Morehead Park, and then I did the central business districts for a lot of the cities, Walnut Cove and King, within the county. So yeah, that was one of my first projects I worked on and ended up making a lot of different inset maps there. This next one, the Critical Facilities Project, was one that was prompted by my professor back at school. She wanted me to look into more of the emergency procedures carried out by the county. And this actually, I think, was a helpful project because I realized that these critical facility layers hadn't been updated in a while. So I think it was really helpful for me to work on those with Greg Hunsucker and just getting those updated to be able to use in the future on a lot of different types of maps. So these are two examples. I don't know how well you can see all of the graphics on here, but hopefully you get kind of a general idea of what I was able to do there. So then I think probably the longest one that I did was this Sourtown horse trails map. It took a long time to get actual updated information from the Sourtown Horse Trail Association, so I kept going back to the map to edit the data for the trails and then keep adding different information and making sure it was accurate. So that was just helpful in realizing that a lot of times projects have to be kind of redone or updated a lot. So I ended up doing a folding map for the Hanging Rock Mountain to Sea trails and the Sourtown Horse trails, as well as creating parking lot locations and labels for them. So next slide, I worked again with the Economical Development Department to create a Dan River map. I think this one is still being worked on, I guess, as far as how it's going to actually be used. But then the Board of Elections also has trying to remember all the wording for this, but I think that their voting precinct had to be updated because one of the poll locations had moved. So I was able to take an old map and then update it with accurate information for what they want to change in the future. Now my last project, this was probably one of the biggest ones that I did because this is gonna hopefully be, it's a land use plan from the 2035 plan that's in the planning department. So this is one of the ones that I worked with Eric Nance on just to be able to add this layer eventually to the GIS data for him to look at and for the GIS people to look at, and I think eventually for the public to have access to. So I think this was really helpful, not just to create a map, but like an actual GIS layer for people to just have a lot of information about what the future plans are for the county and the planning. So this one was a pretty big project. But I was able to create that layer and then also create maps with little insets so you could see more zoomed in areas. So this was a pretty big project, especially because I was going off of pretty much just pictures from the book of the plan for 2035. So it wasn't even like data I could look at. It was just kind of a picture that I had to zoom in a lot and find the actual parcels and select them all and group them together. It was a very detailed project. So it took a while, but I think it ended up being a success and hopefully useful for other people in the future. So those are all, I think, pretty much the biggest things I did. It also was helpful to just apply a lot of information that I learned at school to real world situations, and just applying it to the county and the area that I'm living in now. So I think overall it was a really helpful experience, and like you said, I still have a few more days left, but I'm really thankful to have had the opportunity to be here and to show you guys what I did, and let me know if you have any questions or comments or anything.
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioner Wood, you want to start?
No, very well done. I'm impressed, and hope you have a great senior year.
Thank you.
Yeah, very good. That's a lot of detail and a lot of good information, a lot of updates that I'm sure we needed, and a lot of things that Tori and Eddie can use as they move forward in economic development. So maybe one day you'll come back and join us here in Stokes County. We would love it.
Okay.
We have another app alumni, so
nice.
I'm a 1975 one.
Okay, sweet.
You can think back that far?
She wasn't born yet.
Probably not.
Well, you have anything?
That was team. It's really good.
Mr. Chandler, do you have any comments?
How many hours was the internship total?
Oh, yeah, I didn't mention that. It was 400 hours total. It will be by August 1st.
Great. You did a great job, and thanks for coming here.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Did you have to ride a horse to do the horse trail thing? Or?
No, ma'am. the guy who gave me the data for it, though, he said that he hiked all of the trail, and then he came in and gave the information that he had collected. So, yeah.
That's good for you.
I know, yeah.
Mr. Mendenhall?
You did a great job. So detailed, and it brings us up to date. On the voting precincts, I did want to ask, the one that was changed was in Wilson Store, and if you can't remember this, please don't worry about answering it, but was that Wilson Store being moved from South Stokes Fire Department down to the Venable Brothers area down there? Do you remember?
Yes, sir. I know that was the area, Wilson Store. I can't remember exactly. I was told the location, but now it's blank, coming a blank, but South Stokes. It was in South Stokes. Okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for all you did.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
And I'll join the rest of the board in thanking you for coming and participating with us. You helped us, and hopefully we helped you a little bit. And these maps are just really interesting. I guess I'd like to figure out how we can, maybe how and when we could share these with the public. I think they would be interested in a lot of people drilling down and looking at them in detail and being able to expand them. And
actually, that one map that's in there, the first one on the green box sites, that'll be put in as a mailer in our tax bills that's going out later this week. So
okay.
Everybody get a copy of that.
Is there somewhere on the website we could post them where you could look at them and enlarge them and do stuff like that?
Absolutely. We can give those to IT, and they'd be glad to do that for us.
Yeah, that'd be great, I think.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you.
You guys want to have a break before we start discussion agenda, or you want to keep going? 5-minute break, okay. 5-minute recess. Now I'll call our meeting back to order from recess, and we'll start our discussion agenda. And the first item on there is the tax office agenda.
Good afternoon. I'll be brief because our first item is our monthly tax collection status report. We went over that back when we did our annual settlement. We surpassed budget, so that's great. Next item is our real and personal releases less than 100. We have one account that's $10.59. Then we have releases more than 100. We have two accounts that total $5,079.27. And then we have real and personal refunds more than 100. We have four accounts that total $25.14.02. Next item is our EMS billing and collections report. We billed 5,141 transports, charged almost $3.4 million, and collected a little over $2.4 million. And over to the side, you'll see that there's about $561,000 of contractual obligations that we have to write off. Next item is our discovery and garnishment report. We discovered 433 accounts that totaled a little over $3.1 million that generated a little over $26,733. We've processed 870 garnishments with a levy of $452,613.58. And of that, we've collected $233,151.20. Then our data max, our interstate collections, we've collected $24,377.86. And then the final item I have is two present use value late applications. I would request that the board move the real and personal releases and refunds more than 100 and the present use value late applications to the August 14th consent agenda. That's all I have.
All right. Questions, Commissioner Town? What is your average? I mean, what is your most on time-wise? What type of when you're collecting, let's say, a garnishment? I mean, how many man hours do you spend on a typical?
Well, it depends. It depends on the if the person pays the garnishment, takes care of it after you send it to them, then you're through with the garnishment. But if you have to go through the employer, and then that could take a little longer. And then each situation is different. And then you have to find out if someone's employed. If you find that they are employed, that's great, and you can do that. But if you can't find employment, there's a lot more research involved, and a lot more time and man hours. So it's not really the same for each one. It varies from one to another. But we have we do use that tool as enforced collection, and it does get folks' attention, especially when you contact their employer, because there are a lot of the employers don't like to do that because Lisa can attest it's a lot more work on their payroll staff to have to do that. So they quickly call us and say, "Don't send it to my employer." A lot of them do.
Good report. Thank you. Mr. Menholm?
Yes, you did a very good job, Richard. I wished I had Brandon Gentry here, and I know he could not probably answer this question. It's amazing to me. I looked at the current and delinquent EMS billings, and I don't know if anyone else, if it's caught any of the other commissioners' eyes, it may have. It was just unbelievable. If you look down the months, May of 2023, there were 861 transports billed. There was anything close to that in any other month, and the total charges for that month was $572,303.50. And nothing else was over 500 and some. And that one had 861. I mean, I know,
And May 1's when we started our new fee schedule.
It's just amazing to me how much. Here was the rest of them, 200, 300, 400, and then we got 861. I know you don't have the answer to that, and probably Brandon doesn't even have the answer of why we had 300 and some more billings that month. That was just unbelievable. That we transports billed 861 for May. That's just, I've been on here 7 years. I don't know if I've ever seen 861 EMS billings for 1 month.
I'd have to go back and research that myself, but I can find out though.
That's just out of curiosity. I mean, the last 7 or 8 years, have we ever had 861 billings in 1 month? That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. You did a good job, Richard. Thank you.
Hey, Commissioner Wood.
I got a question you probably can't answer. How is the EMS billed? Who bills it?
Our office. Our
Your
office does.
okay.
I don't know if there's any other county around that does that, but we do that.
Well,
and
that's why I'm confused. It
Well,
sounds
and-
kind of odd.
a
I
lot-
thought you
a lot
were in
of-
the tax business.
a lot of them use a private third party, but see, we don't, which is great because we can utilize those 2 ladies that's dedicated to that. They also do tax things too, so they're multi-trained, cross-trained, and can do so many different things. And we've looked at some things, and our collection percentage is right up there with where they are. So I think we're actually doing a better service because we're not only getting EMS collected, but they're also able to do tax. So
I'm even more impressed with your department.
those ladies do a good job because it's not just as easy as billing. It's a lot of things that go into that. A lot of
Meet some
research.
deadlines and stuff.
Yeah, a lot of research.
Commissioner Cox.
Yeah, good report. Thank you.
Just one quick thing, kind of what Brad was talking about. Is that 400,000 garnishments, and you collected a couple hundred, you said?
Yes, so far.
Is that a big number, that 400, compared to previous years? Or?
I tell you the truth, I don't have that with me, but I can make a note and I can get back with you.
I'm just curious if this tough economy and everything is running up that number along with other
Signs
things.
of what's coming.
Yeah.
But I can get you something on
Yeah,
that.
this
All those baby boomers running.
I'd just be curious, maybe next time you come, show us a little history of what the garnishments.
I can do that.
Because that's kind of a brutal way to collect money.
Yeah,
You have to do it, I understand, but it's still tough on folks.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, I think the next one is the Life Bright Hospital Foundation repair, and Stuart's here to talk about that.
Good afternoon.
Hey, Stuart.
This is kind of I'm going to back up a little bit for the newest members of the board. There's a foundation up at the hospital that's been giving some problems for a little while, seems to be. I know it was looked at in 2018, and then it was looked at again in 2020. So it's kind of been ongoing, it's progressively getting a little worse. Back on May the 30th, Pam Tillman contacted me and wanted me to come up and take a look at the wall in the hospital that pertains to the foundation that she seemed to think it was getting worse. So I went up and took a look, and I could visibly tell, yes, it's getting worse. So I kind of advised her that I didn't really feel comfortable anyone being in these rooms. So I contacted Stokes County Fire Marshal Scott Aaron, and me and Scott went together on May the 31st to look at it, to get his thoughts. And Scott, he seemed to think the same way I did, that the foundation cell in the wall's getting worse. So he even recommended that we vacate the rooms too. So I contacted Morefield Engineering the next day, and I met with Jerry a day or two later up at the hospital and had him take a look. And because he's a structural engineer, just to kind of get his thoughts. And Jerry agreed with us that it had settled worse. It was looking bad, and he didn't seem to think that we needed anyone in these rooms neither. So Jerry sent me some proposals to get for his fees to move forward with him coming up with a plan for us to put together to stop this foundation from moving any further. So, and I think you all have a copy of that. But what I'm here today for is just to see if the board, is good with me moving forward to have Jerry come up with a plan for us to put together to move forward on repairing or shoring up this foundation. Once Jerry makes his recommendations, then it will go out for bid to see kind of where we at. And I think when we looked at it before, we were somewhere around 30,000 to do the shoring. Jerry seems to think now maybe where it's got worse, we may have to add some more piers to get it stabilized. So we won't know until he gets under there and gets to going with it. I don't think it's going to fall anytime soon, but it's just getting worse and worse and worse. So I feel like we're going to have to do something to keep it from falling. It will eventually. It's already pulling the roof loose, the rubber loose from the roof now. So it's settled that much.
So how long have you been briefing the board on the?
It was looked at in 2018, and that was prior to me being here. But then we did go back and investigate it some in 2020, and there was never a decision made. Hey, yeah, let's do this or do that. And so now here we are, looking at it again. So, and we need to make a decision. We need to make
Kick
a
the
decision.
can down the road.
We need to make a decision.
Kicked it to the end of the road now.
Yeah, we're at the end of the road.
A lot of things.
That's all I got.
Okay, Commissioner Brandon Hall.
I don't have much on this. It's something I think we're going to have to move forward with. I mean, hey, as Commissioner Chandler, may I use your
Brad to you.
said, I guess my foot hurts if I kick the can down the road that, but I've been on here since 2016, so I do remember the first time around it didn't seem to come out quite as an emergency situation. If my memory serves me right, I'm just trying to remember back in, because 2023 was 5 years ago. I can't guarantee what was said at that meeting, but irregardless of where we're at, let's look at it, what we got right now in front of us. And I'm looking at Jerry's scope. Jerry did a lot of work for the school system when I was superintendent. And I certainly, I looked over his scope and all the different items that he included in his, what his contract fees would be per hour, everything. I certainly think we gotta take a look at this now. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thanks, Commissioner Wood.
Is it fixable?
Yeah, Jerry seems to think we can stop it from going any further. Now, you can't bring it up, but you can stop it from getting any worse. And kind of what my plan was is for the county to go in, we'll shore up the foundation, get it to stop, and then we'll let the hospital make the repairs on the inside, because that part doesn't really fall under the county.
Trim is it?
It's the back hall. If you come in the front door and you go straight like you're going to go into the cafeteria, you take a right and go down the back hall. It's those first 2 or 3 rooms on the left. They have vacated. They've moved everybody out of those 2 rooms. So
Was it office space or patient room?
it was actually respiratory care.
Oh, yeah.
So they've moved all the respiratory to other rooms.
I was just going to say, I didn't think since I'd been on the board this issue had been brought up to us, but I do know that when it was being discussed about 5 years ago, I think we were, again, that the thought was to wait and see what was going to happen as far as the studies and the feasibility and all that about building something. You don't want to spend a whole lot of money on something if you're going to build something new, possibly. So I think that's been kind of the holdup. But like, I wasn't on here when, like Commissioner Mendenhall mentioned, that it was, I guess, not an emergency situation at that point. But it sounds like it is reached that, and so I think we definitely should try to fix it and get it looked at and get a better idea of what we're dealing with and how much it would take to fix it. So I'm all for fixing it.
Okay, so do you need us to give approval today to contract with Jerry? Is that what we need to do?
If y'all would like to move it to action, then that way I can go ahead and get in touch with Jerry and say, hey, we're good.
How backed up is he?
He's backed up. He's backed up.
But everybody is.
Yeah, he's backed up.
I think we still need to move it to action, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I have one quick question for our attorney. Jerry's married to my first cousin's daughter, so is there any conflict with me voting on contracts for him?
I think probably it would be better if you feel like that you might to maybe abstain from that.
Okay.
But I don't know that it's like a technical conflict per se.
Okay. I think I
It
will.
might be fifth cousins.
Or six cousins or something. But
That's long down the road. You're right. Everybody's fifth cousins or
I'm
sixth
not a
cousins
cousin to
somewhere.
any of them.
All mine are in
Even though
Rockingham
I
County,
am.
so I think I'm okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it might be a good idea.
Okay, well, I'll recuse myself from that vote then, and we'll move it to action for today. All righty?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next thing is the abandonment of Morehead Park baseball field. Tori's gonna present on that, I think. Hey, Tori.
Hey, it'll be a team effort too.
I have it, but I didn't put it on my agenda. But
I kept mine.
I have it. Yeah.
Older version.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
So you may have gotten the mailer about the public hearing input that was last Tuesday at the Arts Place. That was information on the bridge replacement, and since that time and before that public hearing was put in place, we found out other details in webinars that me and Eddie and Stuart have set in on. The proposed bridge is going to overtake some of the backstop of the current baseball field, and Morehead Park and that baseball field and many of the facilities that make up the park were put in place in the 70s through Land and Water Conservation Fund funding. And in order to abandon the baseball field, which is obsolete, we have to write a letter of abandonment to North Carolina Park and Rec and have that on file because of the Land and Water Conservation Fund money. We'll go through a little history of how this all came about. The Department of Transportation is proposing to replace the Shepherd Mill Bridge over the Dan River in Stokes County. This project will require acquisition of a small amount of property from Morehead Park as the right-of-way. The project is currently scheduled for right-of-way acquisition in fall of 2023, with construction beginning in spring of 2025. The representative from North Carolina Parks says that it's important that we move along with this process as fast as we can because it could take up to a year for the recognition of the abandonment of that baseball field. At the public hearing and input session last week at the Arts Place, about a dozen people attended to hear an informal presentation from North Carolina DOT and the engineering company of the project, and you have that copy of what they handed out there in front of you. Stokes County has been aware of this project since 2017-18 when we were initially involved and invited to sit in on meetings to provide input on the bridge. We've been in on those initial meetings, and it was always in the initial meetings it was noted that the bridge would be an issue if it was taken out and replaced as one thing, taken out and then put back, and have a detour put in place because of the fire and EMS need to cross that bridge to access Shepherd Mill Road. So the Remy Kemp engineers have presented plans. There were 4 to 5 different options for this replacement, and the final option that is presented here is the one that they're going to go with, which moves the Shepherd Mill Bridge downstream or south of where it currently stands. So during the construction phase, the current bridge will remain open while they construct a new bridge and a new abutment to Highway 8 for Shepherd Mill Road. The plan brings the bridge onto park property and across the backstop of the baseball field, which is seen here in black and white. There's a red line that runs where the bleachers are. It even comes across that brown building that's down there for storage, old concession stand. There will be a hill that'll come down from the new road and connect to the park property, and it's the baseball field into issue for needing to be replaced or moved in that property. And the remaining space in that area may not be sufficient for the correct measurements of a full-fledged baseball field with outfield. Over the last, I think it was mentioned in the memo for this topic, that there's not been any sports use, practice, or organized team play on the field within the last decade. And within the last 2 years, the outfield fence was removed because it had fallen to disrepair. I have some photos that we took a few years ago when the top railing of the fence you could poke somebody in the eye if they walked by it, I guess, if you walked by on the outside of the outfield fence. So in the meetings that we have all sat in on, even the tax administrator has sat in on these meetings, we feel that it is best to consider the abandonment of the baseball field because it is obsolete. The bases are not even in good standing. So in order to, we have to make sure that this is noted as obsolete with North Carolina Parks and Rec, and this letter of abandonment will be sent to them, and it will include information from a public hearing or input session that we have to plan for ourselves here at Stokes County. We can't necessarily use the one that was advertised for DOT. We'll do one for the county where folks can come and voice any opposition or any concerns that they might have toward this. And we were thinking about having that added to the August 14th meeting as a public hearing prior to your commissioner meeting. There's enough time to advertise that and get the word out. And let's see, this is a map that was provided in the color copy packet that DOT presented last Tuesday. And some other information on this bridge will have sidewalks on both sides, 5-foot sidewalks and bike lanes. It'll be very beneficial to any event that's held at Morehead Park. Even on weekends, you're driving through there and people are parking at the Danbury General Store or along Highway 8, and they're walking across that bridge, and it's very narrow. And that was one of the big concerns back in 2017-18, that we wanted to make sure there was a sidewalk on both sides. And that also coincides with the Danbury master plan for greenways and sidewalks. There's some project funding information. It's said in here in this note that the project is funded through the North Carolina Department of Transportation State Budget or State Bridge Program for $8,100,000. And they do have to go about getting the right-of-way acquisition. And also part of this project, they're going to be acquiring right-of-way on property that was funded through federal funds, and we have to find offset property to match that almost 1 acre that they're going to be taking up to put the bridge over top of existing area of the park where we're having to move the bridge downstream. And the tax administrator has worked on helping us get in touch with that, and we have ideas in place, and we've been working closely with Remy Kemp and DOT and North Carolina Parks and Rec, and they even have mentioned that we've been such a strong partner and right on top of it along the way, and that's been a great compliment to all of us who have stayed involved. So right now, if you have any comments on the proposed abandonment or your thoughts, we wanted to make sure you knew about this before we get that letter together and have the public hearing.
Hey, Commissioner Mendenhall, do you want to go? Okay. Commissioner Cox,
The right-of-way acquisition, that's what they're going to pay the county, or
they will pay the county, and the county will have to go out and buy offset land to make sure that the park still meets the amount of acreage that it is supposed to meet for the Land and Water Conservation Fund, which is something that doesn't sunset.
Just if it didn't cost as much as what they're going to pay, you have more money to invest into the park for improvements and things, maybe, unless it's going to cost the whole amount to acquire more land.
Couldn't you offset the land there from the old bridge to it'll be there?
No, the DOT will maintain that right of way, just as they did down at Dodgetown for when they have to replace the bridge in another 100 years.
We may get into something that has to be closed session. So
That's what I was
Yeah, I started
because
saying that.
when you're dealing with the budget, that's an estimated budget at this point, and you don't know what the.
Okay, we can talk about that later.
And this is a map here of where the current baseball field is. And Lydia helped us out with this down in mapping and GIS. And then this map shows a multi-use greenfield area where folks could play anything from soccer to flag football, have picnic or areas to hang their hammocks.
There's no thought of using that for parking? That green area?
I think that the area for parking is just
right there
to the top, or I guess you'd say northeast of the green area.
Okay. What do you need us to do? To have a letter?
Well, we have
for
to
you
form
guys?
this. The guy Trey Fouché from Parks and Rec, he didn't have a true abandonment letter, but he had a letter that was used in Avery County from North Carolina Parks and Cultural Resources for an abandonment that they did that we can get some wording out of, and we can get that together. But in this letter, we have to include any information about a public hearing or comments that were given from the public, and if that we did schedule a public hearing.
Well, we can do that, right, for next meeting? Is that what you said?
Yeah, August 14th.
If we're good with doing a public hearing next meeting?
Yeah.
And then you guys will have the letter then for us to approve? Is that what you'd like us to do?
Yeah, we'll have a letter.
Stuart, you got something you want to say?
Yeah, I wanted to make a comment on what Rick said about the parking. This area right here is, we've actually got a fence here now. I think you've probably seen it, the split rail fence that runs from here to there. And what we're going to do is go in here and make this a parking lot where we could get 25 or so cars in there. When we turn everybody loose here, the crowd gets so big that we can't keep it under control.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's why you're not using the baseball field this year.
Yeah.
And
Inquired minds want to know. Thank you.
Yes, that's why we're not using it, because
Had that
see, the
question.
sheriff's department's helping us out with this.
Yeah.
And now they've run into it's run into a parking issue versus a patrol issue. They're trying to patrol it, but now they're trying to keep, I've told them 25 cars. And that's what we do on the other side. When we get 25 in here, it's just packed. And then if we're doing the same here, they can kind of control the crowd. When they turn them loose and it gets all up here, it's just more people than they can look after. So
That's one good way to manage it.
yeah, I don't really want any more in there than what we're getting out. July 4th was a disaster, just to be honest with you.
It was a train wreck.
And I can foresee when we start this, or when the DOT starts this project, it's probably going to be a disaster for people wanting to get into the park. I don't know how we're going to do that. We're probably going to have to put up barricades, keep people from walking under the bridge. But we'll cross all that when we get there. But it just kind of is what it is.
You want to keep that. You want to keep it green space. You know, with a ball field, it's been used for recreation purposes. So you want to continue to use that for outdoor recreation for folks.
Okay. As much as I go by there, it has been, but I saw two teams practicing ball in the spring, and that's it. There's nobody using it for baseball.
And in the Land and Water Conservation Fund documentation, you know, it has to be used for recreation purposes, unless you want to submit documentation to abandon it.
That's fine. I mean, you redesign it a little bit, then you might get a lot more use out of it. A pickleball court in it or something. Just kidding.
I make a statement about what he said about the building and the playground. The DOT is going to pay us to do that.
DOT will remove the old bridge, right? Completely, yes. And haul it off. It'll be gone. Nothing left for us to.
A lot better will.
Okay, everybody good?
Yeah,
we can move forward, and Amber, you'll be the one who puts that public notice out there in the paper for. Yep.
We'll just have it at the beginning of the next meeting.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Thank you.
Hey, thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, our next one is about design build criteria for the Arts Place project, and
Eddie again.
Whole crew here along with Glenda added to the mix.
I'm making them all say. Eddie and I have been in long discussions and kind of
trying to figure out how we wanted to go about the renovations down at the second portion of the arts place, where the artist way is, and some different things. These funds were approved in last fiscal year's budget, and we've been kind of working, trying to decide how we wanted to tackle it. After talking with Eddie, we would like to utilize the General Statute 143-128-1A, which is design build. I've been doing a lot of research in regards to design build because this is something we haven't done before, but we also haven't done a project similar to this. But and with Eddie's experience from the last project, he was very on board to try to do contractor, and then we deal directly with the contractor. So it's not like our traditional, we deal with the architect and you go back and forth. I think after all the research I've done, that Eddie has done, I've talked to other counties, Forsyth County especially. I talked with Darren, and he really likes this on certain projects. He said new construction, our traditional way is usually the best. But renovations and things, he felt that they get a lot of success from design build. It does help because you're dealing with a contractor. The building is already there. There's going to be challenges within itself because it is an old structure. So I talked with Ty because I wasn't really sure exactly how to go about this because we haven't done it. And so you all have to approve the criteria, which I worked closely with Ty in regards to. I kind of used some information I'd received from Forsyth County. Darren sent me some things that they do. I actually pulled some stuff from Yak and and kind of got a conglomeration and kind of made it our own. So in your agenda, you'll see that criteria. And then I conversed with Ty, and he thought everything looked good. So I just need your approval as a board for us to do this as a design build. And then once you approve it, then we can send out an RFQ for a contractor to be our design builder. Like I said, it's a new experience for me as a project manager, but as I told Eddie, I'm willing to go for it. So.
All right. Questions from the board?
So I'm assuming the funds out of the previous budget were encumbered.
Yes, everything rolled over. Eddie actually received a grant for a large portion of it, and the county put in some funds also. So yes, the funding is there. We just rolled everything over because we've been kind of working with it. We just haven't spent out any funds yet.
That was the Rural Transformation Grant from NC Commerce. So $850,000 and those are ARPA funds, and the county ARPA funds as well for $450,000. So it's 1.3.
Yes.
I'll be nice if you let me go. I've been using design build for 50 years. You're going to save money.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to the 21st century.
I'll agree. I've done a lot. So I told Eddie, I said, I've learned a lot.
You're going to love it unless I've heard nobody complain about it. Even if you'd done the courthouse that way, you're saving money, in my opinion.
And time.
That's all I'm going to say. I'm all for it.
Well, I think moving forward, like you said, I think for the county, it's good to have this in place since it's not been done before.
Oh, yes.
It's where the designer and the contractor work as a team, but you only have one contract. Mm-hmm. And the bid process is based on, when you choose that team, it's based on qualifications.
Yes.
Not necessarily the lowest bid, but you want someone who's experienced in these areas, and that's who you want to choose. So I think it's great for Stokes County, and now is the time. So
Agreed.
Do anything with action, I'm all for it.
If you all could just move into action to approve the criteria that you have before you, then we've already kind of been working on an RFQ, Eddie and I, and so as soon as you approve it, we can send that RFQ out to get started.
This is the only thing holding you back.
Yes.
All right, Eddie.
Pardon me?
This is the only thing holding you back.
Yes.
To get started.
To get started.
Right.
Yes.
I saw you wanted us to approve the criteria, but I wasn't sure what the criteria were. So is that in your first memo?
It's in the second one, and I have a copy of it. It's the one that's labeled criteria. It should have been in there, and if it didn't, I'm sorry.
It's the first one.
It's the list that describes all the stuff you're doing?
Yes, it'll say like
The short
title,
one.
establishment of criteria, this one.
Let me see. I don't remember seeing that in there.
I think it's the first one. Oh.
And I'm sorry if it didn't get included.
It's the same difference.
Yes, it's the same difference. And it's this is the one that Ty approved that he thought was the best legal portion.
That's what you need us to approve.
Yes, yes. And if you need to do it at next meeting, I mean, that's fine. It's 2 weeks away.
We're losing 2 weeks.
I'd rather do it now. Yeah, we'll add it. We'll move it to action then.
Okay, that'll be fine.
You just need us to approve the criteria and approve the design build
Yes,
process.
to use design build. That's correct.
We'll do it.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is the moratorium of large-scale solar farms, and Eric's going to talk to us about that.
You're the last man standing.
Last man standing today. All right, so back in June the 22nd, 2022, the former director, David Suttereth, had sent a memo to the current county, well, at the time the county manager, Shannon Shaver, and asked her to extend the moratorium for another year, no later than March 1st. Let's see, get that right. Well, it's set to expire August 23rd, 2022, which it did. And Amber wanted me to come back and speak with you guys about the resolution establishing a 1-year moratorium on approval of the large-scale solar farms, 50 acres or larger, and just to see where we were with that. Since that time, I think one of the issues that David had was the fact that there wasn't a plan in place for decommissioning.
That's correct.
And I think that was the main concern from what I'm gathering from the information that I've seen on that. Haven't dug into that, taken a look at the all the resolutions and those sort of things that they've done since that time. The latest thing that I've seen, I think Jennifer will agree with me, is Session Law 2023-58, which would be House Bill 130. They actually did make a resolution of the decommissioning of the solar panels and gave guidelines as far as how the solar companies would decommission them after looking through it thoroughly and looking over it again and thinking that maybe they didn't, and finding that they actually did put some things in order here. If you look at the House Bill 130 on page 3, down at item B, it has the decommissioning requirements for the solar panels. And of course it goes on to describe how they should go about doing that. And the companies would have to actually submit a plan to the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality in order for this to happen. And it's quite lengthy. If you read that, did they get that in the email and everything? Okay. So with that, it's in my opinion that they do now have a decommissioning plan. It looked to me like that it was something that would be suitable and something that I didn't feel like that the county would be should be concerned about as far as the disposal of the panels after decommissioning. And so with that, and I know you guys would have to make a decision on whether or not to continue this or not. In my opinion, and my suggestion would be that we do not continue the moratorium, based on the fact that they do have a plan in place. Also based on the fact that I feel like our new fees that we have in place for the solar farms could be a deterrent for them to come in and make the huge farms. But if they did, I feel like that the county would benefit financially in a great way for that.
All right, does anybody have any questions at this time?
Well, I got a comment. I totally disagree. We have no choice. We've been forced into this. The whole reason we pulled the reins back is we didn't want solar farms all over Stokes County, acres after acres.
Okay.
And now they're jamming this down our throat, and I don't like it. But there's nothing we can do.
can we make them smaller, or is our hands tied there? I don't even like the comment. They put in a word about the appliances and stuff, which this is just say it BS.
I get it.
But when we can't do nothing to regulate these, right?
Right. One of the things that I did
County
see
level.
in this, in the House bill, was that when it actually was presented to the governor for signature,
Of course.
on the 15th day of June 2023, the governor didn't actually sign it. So what happened was him failing to sign the law within a certain period of time, it actually became law the 26th day of June 2023, according to this. And so, am I correct in that? And so, do we have a choice as to how they're decommissioned based on this? I don't believe so.
But we can still vote to continue the moratorium, or we
No.
can't. We can't.
Read the first of it.
It
I'll let
depends.
Jennifer take that one.
It depends.
Depends. And if y'all want to discuss some of that, we may need to do a closed session on that, just so I can officially advise the board on what the law is
hold
on
over
that.
to that, and we'll hold our questions.
Because there's lots of different
Okay.
things in that handout that I was handing up that we need to look at.
Okay. Well, let's just wait to do that in closed.
All righty. Anybody have any other comments?
Thank you for the information.
Thanks,
You're
Eric.
welcome. Yes, sir.
Our next item on the agenda is additional request to amend the River Street contract. Amber, you gonna talk about that to start
Yeah, I
with?
can just introduce it.
Okay.
So Ty, myself, and Glenn all got on, I don't know if it was a Teams call, but some kind of call with River Street and their attorneys as well. And we went whenever our concerns, and I think Rick was on there for part of it too. I think they included him on the meeting. And so we kind of went over some of our concerns in the amendment and why we felt that we needed to change that. Of course, we disagreed on some different things, but I think their proposed amendment has some wording changes that is a little bit better than the original proposed amendment. I know that that Ty was okay with it, and I think Rick was okay with it, and I know Glenn had some concerns still, but I don't think according to our original agreement with them, it's still currently signed for $2.4 million. So even if we didn't do anything, we still have that current agreement with them, which we do have to amend because of the great grant language. So the point may be moot as far as what we're trying to converse with them on, as far as the, if it's.
What I'm wondering if it's.
Does that make sense? Yeah, as far as the language. So we may not have an option in the matter, but I think the wording on this latest amendment is a lot better than the last one.
I would agree. And I was in on that discussion. I said, I think we're trying, we went through, we had to, this money was restricted, and then we found out it could be unrestricted, but we also moved it in our general fund to keep from having somebody take it away from us. So I think what River Street's trying to do is, Amber, you can tell me if you agree, that they're trying to say if we were all gone and new people were here, that they want the agreement to still reflect the fact that we're committed to finishing the internet in the county, and we're committed to matching future grants like we said we would do when the money was restricted, and so that the language will reflect that versus us, like I said, if people change or whatever. Because I think that whoever's here, I would hope they have that same commitment to finish the internet connectivity to the point that we consider it 100% done. And there's another grant on the I don't think it increases any risk or really changes what our original intents were for of what we wanted to do by doing this modification.
We're not going to have it on action today anyway, right?
Do we need to, or?
I don't think it matters. I mean, as long as we.
Well, they just need
action's fine. I mean, soon would be great, but at the same time, when we waited this long, if we need more time to think about it and just review it.
That'd be fine. And the other thing is too, I had one other point. What was the other point? But we do need to get it done in order for them to execute that great grant money, don't we? Don't we have? Does
Yeah,
this have
I
to
think-
be
well, I
finalized
think-
before we can do that?
Well, I think
or
the
not?
most important thing is what we've already done is approving the Exhibit J that y'all approved a couple meetings ago, because that's what we actually send to the state to allow for that three-party agreement. So I
Okay.
mean, this amendment is definitely important to go alongside that, but the Exhibit J has already been sent in.
Okay,
So,
okay,
yeah.
good. Okay, so this action for the next meeting then,
Yeah,
is that good with everybody?
Yes.
Yeah.
All righty, the next item on our agenda is Board of Health appointments.
So, let's get this. So I was contacted by Board of Health Chair Chad Jarvis on recommending the appointment of 2 more individuals to the Board of Health to kind of fill some of those positions, and hopefully they can have a fully appointed board soon. So Stephen Jones turned in his application for the open professional engineer slot, and then Amber Hereford turned in her application and resume for the physician slot. Ms. Hereford will be placing Dr. Santoro, who is stepping down from the board due to increasing, increasing actions with his current duty. He doesn't really have time to do this in addition to that. So she would be replacing him, but the professional engineer slot is actually currently open right now.
I know both of these people. Great people.
Okay, I'll look
Amber-
forward for nominations then, and we'll nominate these.
Nominate Hereford and Jones if we need, and we're gonna you still advertise it for 2 weeks?
After next week.
Okay, yeah.
Say motion to close nominations then.
Motion to close.
Second.
Thanks.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed.
Amber
Okay.
practices at Mountain View Medical, so she's
Yeah.
in the county.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I read both of them, and I don't remember us ever actually having a professional engineer in that position. Maybe we did, but
He used to work for DOT, but
that's good.
yeah, he's a good guy.
All right, so we just need to handle that next time, right, under action.
Yeah, action
right,
next meeting.
Amber?
Yes.
Okay, the last item is Stokes Partnership for Children Commissioner appointment. As you will remember, Commissioner Mendenhall resigned at the last meeting from that board, and so we need to fill that position. They would prefer to have a commissioner, but there's some other options as well. So what's the board's thoughts on that?
I would suggest that Mr.
No.
Mr. Chandler, whoever doesn't have as many boards to have to go to.
I'll do it. Okay.
I will say that the other government person, just for the board's knowledge, Tammy Martin was on the Stokes Partnership for Children. She stepped down, so it's my understanding. I think Tori has talked to Cindy and has showed some interest, so he might be the other government appointee for that, because I know they were having trouble finding some people. So, but I think my understanding is, and maybe Commissioner Mendenhall can speak to this, I think Tori goes to most of those meetings anyways and fundraisers to help with stuff, so it might fit that he's actually on the board.
The board of directors sometimes want some. Each person that's on the board of directors they ask you to serve on one subcommittee. Like I was on the North Carolina Pre-K committee. That's a committee under the board of directors, and they have like the barbecue for books subcommittee, all sorts of different. They ask you to serve on one subcommittee, and I was serving on the NC Pre-K committee.
We're kind of an active group, very active.
Will you get me an official list of whatever the meeting schedule is, and then I'll start.
Yeah, they
Plugging it in.
actually have a meeting next week, I think.
So what action we need to take? Just consensus that you're on it? Is that all we need to do?
Yeah, for now, I think just because I know that Cindy was going to bring Tori to the executive committee, but I wasn't sure which commissioner appointment we were going to have, so I couldn't tell her at that time. So she may need to bring it before the executive committee before we officially appoint. But yeah, consensus is fine for today.
Okay.
That'd be great.
Be great. All right, that takes care of our discussion agenda. We move to the action agenda, and the first one is the abandonment resolution request for Shoebuckle Road.
Make a motion we approve that.
Second.
And what we're approving is our intent to abandon the road,
Yeah,
right?
the intent to pass the resolution. Yeah,
So intent to
abandon.
pass the resolution to abandon the road. And so we have a motion to do that.
Like
A second.
We've already got a motion, I'm sorry.
Hey, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it passed unanimously.
And then we just need to call a public hearing on August 14th at the beginning of that meeting as well, along with the abandonment of the baseball field.
Okay, two public hearings.
Yeah,
we'll
we
have.
will, and we can have that on the same meeting. We'll have the resolution on the next meeting as well on action for you to take action on it. That way, you have the public hearing at the beginning of that meeting, and then the resolution on action.
Okay, sounds
But
good.
I'll get with the attorney's office to draft that resolution.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, what were the other things we moved to action tonight?
The
Design, build, criteria?
The Life Right Hospital Foundation repair was the first one.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have motion to approve the contract with the Jerry Morefield Engineering Company. Make a motion to approve it. A second.
Second.
I'm going to recuse myself from the vote. All others, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes.
And then the design build criteria approval.
Okay, yeah, that's the next item. Motion to approve the design criteria and also one other thing too, right? Two things with that we had to approve. The criteria.
Yeah, the criteria.
Criteria and the design build process.
Make a motion, we approve the design build process and the criteria.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. Is that it, Amber, for action items? Okay, now we need to go into closed session. If you will read the criteria for doing that, or the rationale.
To discuss matters relating to the location or expansion of industries or other businesses in the areas served by the public body, including agreement on a tentative list of economic development incentives that may be offered by the public body in negotiations, or to discuss matters relating to a military installation closure or realignment pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A4, and to consider the initial employment or appointment of an individual to any office or position other than a vacancy in the Board of County Commissioners or any other public body, or to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, and fitness of any public officer or employee other than a member of the Board of Commissioners or of some other public body pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A6.
All right, given that criteria, you have a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
All in favor say aye. Aye, okay. Lock the doors.
All right, it's on. Hang on.
Okay, so we're now back in open session. And do we have any business to complete in open session? We need one motion, I think, right?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the contract for David Jones it will be a contract for a part-time position. Do we need to include the pay, Jennifer?
I think it's in that contract that you guys, I think it's 50 an hour.
Yes, do we need to include it in the motion?
No, just in the contract.
Approve him as the contract reads.
I'll make a second to that.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that approves unanimously.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.